the lifespan, the health of Diablo Immortal. In today's video, I want to kind of dive in and take a look at how good of a position we're in for long-term success of this game. I think this is an appropriate time, being that we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of Diablo Immortal. We have the new class coming and changes coming to the game that we've been talking about here over the last few days. So I decided, why not talk about it today and determine if Diablo Immortal has what it takes to be one of those long-lasting mobile games, the ones that's around for 10 plus years, or if it's something that's going to die out pretty quickly. Now, if we think back to just when the game came out, a lot of negativity came along with Diablo Immortal, and a lot of people said, this game is going to die. This game is not going to last. It's not going to go 6 months before it's taken off the App Store. Well, we're now at a time where that has been proven wrong. Diablo Immortal is not only here, but growing every single day in people that play the game, as well as development of the game. So let's talk about a few games, first of all, that have been huge successes and stood the test of time. In the mobile space, these games typically look a little bit different than Diablo Immortal. In my opinion, Immortal is a PC game brought over to a mobile phone. Not that it was ported over, but the depth that the game has is of that status. For example, the amount of things that come into this game every single update are massive. We're not talking about little dinky changes. We're talking about some really big changes that come to the game all the time, and new content in the form of classes, game modes, reworks, new zones, new events. Always new things are coming. We don't see this, and believe me guys, I cover and have covered in the past a lot of mobile games. I've never seen a mobile title that puts out as many updates and as big of updates as we're seeing here in Diablo Immortal. One, in my opinion, is the team dedicated to making great content for this game, and two is the success of the game. Now, we talk about all the time that this game has huge pay-to-win mechanics. If you want to be one of the top in PvP or on the top of the leaderboards, you have to pay for your gems, for your residents, for your normal gems, so that you can have the ability to compete. The negative thing about this is that it's got pay-to-win mechanics. The good thing about this is that that supports the game development so that we can have all these great cool things. When we look inside of the game, for example, today, there are events going on like Wild Brawl. This is an event that does not take residents into play whatsoever. It's something that even all free-to-play players can enjoy and have a chance of winning. Completely free-to-play mode, Battle Royale in Diablo Immortal. I know, you guys thought I was crazy when I said this like a year ago that the game needed it. It's a great game mode, and it's one that I wish I participated in more. A lot of the reason that I don't is I don't have the time to sit down sometimes and put into those long gameplay sessions that it could potentially take to complete Wild Brawl. Of course, if you want to win. But with all of the different game modes that are always coming to the game, you have to have solid development. Now, we've seen every single month in Diablo Immortal, we get a new update. It comes in the form of a battle pass, right? Which I think is, by the way, the best value in the game. The way that I look at these things is, if you're playing a mobile game for free, especially one as in-depth as this, I have no problem with paying the developer $5 a month as support for what they're offering me. I actually don't love the idea of playing a game that I play every day for a good amount of time and never giving back to the game. Now, of course, we're giving back in form of popularity of the game, in the form of promotion of the game, in the form of keeping the game full with players. But I really like the idea, and I liked the idea back when I played Clash Royale, when I played Clash of Clans. I like the idea of spending $5 in the Battle Pass. Not only do we get some cool rewards along the way, like the cosmetic that's now at slot number 15 instead of slot number 40, it's just a good way to give back to the developer, plus get myself a little progress along the way, and it makes it a little bit more fun for me as I go through the game and progress. I get some extra rewards, which are actually quite nice and help me experience some other things that I may not have been able to experience because I didn't have the resources that I get from the Battle Pass. So I personally like that, and I think that the Battle Pass, although I don't know how, I actually wish I knew how much money they made every single month in the Battle Pass. I don't have those numbers. I wish that I did. But that is another great way that this game gets its support, and many mobile games do at this point in time, that allow them to continuously develop. But again, thank you to all the whales that are being the big spenders and allowing us smaller spenders to have updated content all the time. We have the new Tempest coming to the game. Last year, we had the Blood Knight come to the game. Developing a whole new class and bring it into a game now on a yearly cadence is actually a ton of work. We know that the Tempest has been in production since back when the Blood Knight was being produced because there were files inside of the game. Now, obviously, the Blood Knight was further along in production. The Tempest was a thought that was being produced a little bit more slowly over time. But that is huge that there have been 2 new classes. Diablo Immortal getting more classes more quickly than any other Diablo game on any other platform. That says something. Also, we do know that this game is being produced by both NetEase over in China and by Blizzard here in the United States. I know that this is a collaborative work in progress with them all the time. We have the people over in the US that are developing from our side, the NetEase side, and combining what they do. Things may look a little different over there in China than it does over here in the US, but for me, what I have here, I'm very happy with it. I'm excited. I know that we had seen things about seasons coming over in China, a special server just for seasons. Now, I haven't heard that it's coming to us in the US, but I don't even think it's a bad idea. If there were an option that I could play on a different server and start a brand new class that is a season-based class, I love that option. There would be people that would enjoy that. Or there's people that would just stay on their normal class that they're playing and continue the grind that they're doing. I love that that is a thing and potentially even going to come over to us here. Also, maybe it won't. I guess we'll have to see. But we've got so much new stuff coming. And when you think about how I spoke about the leaked Paragon system, that has not been confirmed whether the numbers and everything that we discussed in that video is true or not. Blizzard is the only company that can confirm that. Anything we find on the internet is just that, stuff that we find on the internet. So we got to keep that in mind, take what we hear with a grain of salt, but kind of break it down as well to see if there is any truth to it. Now, if there is truth that the Paragon system is going to be combined and brought down into a much smaller system, well, then that could be something that's a little bit easier for people to digest, bringing in newer players. With 15 different Paragon trees right now, that's a lot of stuff for a new player to have to take a look at and say, okay, where do I put my points? They have no idea. And with good reason, because if I had to come into the game with 15 Paragon trees, you have to do a lot of research before you decide where you're going to be investing. And also with that, there was rumor that the Hell difficulties were going to be changed, Infernal difficulties were going to be changed, things were going to be more compacted. If there's any truth to this, that lends itself and it gives us some thoughts about the longevity of the game. Are they trying to make it so that there aren't going to be so many Inferno difficulties and Hell difficulties because maybe it's not sustainable? Think about it. We went all the way through Hell 7, 8, and then we're all the way through Inferno 6, and we're ready for more. And if this cadence continues, every year we're going to have to be getting 6 or 7 new levels of Paragon difficulty and new Paragon trees alongside of it. So if we have 15 Paragon trees now, in a year, we're going to have about 20. And then the year after that, we'll have about 27, some type of cadence. That's just a lot of Paragon trees. And a new player coming to the game in 2 years from now, having to choose between 20-something Paragon trees, it gets more and more encumbering. So it makes sense that they'd potentially want to ease that up a little bit, make it a little bit more digestible for new players coming to the game, because we forget a lot here, guys. We've been playing the game since day one. Maybe you haven't been playing the game since day one. I have and many others have, and the people that have forget that there's new players joining us every day. The reason I know this is because I have people in my Discord and in the comments reaching out to me all the time that they're a new player, they just joined Diablo Immortal, and they have some questions. So I actually love that the game is growing in that sense as well. So we have the new game modes coming all the time. We have new updates coming on a monthly basis. We have monetization that keeps the game going, which is a positive thing. And when we compare this to other games, let's compare it to Clash of Clans, for example, because I have a lot of experience there. Clash of Clans is a game that comes out 10 years ago at this point, coming on 11 years, and is probably more popular now than it was back then. How does a game have that type of longevity? And the answer is, it's the dedication that the team has to the game's success, which is very different than some other titles which will be unnamed. And I'm not talking about Diablo Immortal. I think, because I know the Diablo Immortal team personally. I know the Clash of Clans team personally. And I could tell you that the similarities are Both teams love their game and want the game to last for a long time. This is not where they're just trying to put something out, get as much money as they can, as quickly as they can, and then kill the game to start something new. Because the games that I'm talking about that I'm not going to mention, there are definitely games in the mobile space that do this. They'll put out a title, whatever the genre may be. We'll leave that up to your guessing. And they'll leave it out for a year, 2 years. When viewership and when playership starts to go down and things start to tank for them a little bit, well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to start creating a new title along the same lines, the same genre, very similar. They will kill the first one, which means, remember, if a game is killed, taken off the App Store, no longer supported, or in any way just not being attended to, any of your money that you've put into the game stays in the game. If the game stays alive but never gets another update, it's there and there's nothing more to do ever. Or if it gets killed, your money is buried with that game. There's no getting it back. And then you would be forced to, or at least have the option to, many people would feel forced to, put that money into the next title that comes out. Diablo Immortal's not doing this. This is where the money's being put into this game, the money's being reinvested into this game to make this game better and better. Now, it does have a PC client. That's what I'm always here on. I'm always here on the PC client when I'm recording. I actually play 90% of the time on mobile when I'm actually playing the title, and I like to be here when I record my videos just for a better overall look for you guys. But something that I wish we had here was a more robust PC experience. Not because I want it, but because I want something that PC players would enjoy as well. Let me give you an example, because I don't think that that's very clear. If you think of Genshin Impact, a lot of players who play Genshin Impact, they play on PC. And there's a mobile client as well, which has a mobile audience, but it's all kind of meshed together. I feel like Diablo Immortal, and as for good reason, it was always mobile first since day one, was and is mostly looked at a mobile game and less of a PC experience. And I believe that's because when the PC client was developed, it was developed after the mobile game. It was not built in conjunction with. I do like the PC client. I think that it plays really well. I think that it looks really good. I mean, the graphics are enhanced on PC versus on mobile, just probably because of device capabilities. But overall, I think it does play well, but it's not looked at as a PC and a mobile game. Diablo Immortal is looked at as a mobile game. I'll also mention that in the beginning of the days here, there was no intention of making Diablo Immortal a PC game at all. I remember when that was actually announced and how excited the PC community was that they were going to be able to play Diablo Immortal on their PC. So I'm not sure that that plays any role in the longevity of the game. It just would maybe have made it more of a liable option for players on PC. But with that being said, Diablo 4 was also being produced at the same time. So, how long will Diablo Immortal live? That's the end question. Will Diablo Immortal be like the next Clash of Clans? Although Clash of Clans is very simple, it's getting more and more difficult and more, and by simple I mean simple in nature of what the game actually is. Build a base, attack a base, that's the game. Here, Diablo Immortal has a lot more going on. There's tons of mechanics inside of the game, tons of game modes, and hours of things you can do every day just to keep up with what's going on inside of the game. Not saying that you have to. But will Diablo Immortal be the next 10-year game like Clash of Clans? Or will it be like a Subway Surfers Endless Runner that's one of the most popular mobile games? And I think there's a few things to take into account here. One, can an action RPG be that popular on mobile? And I think there's a limit to what we could see there. Action RPGs are natively played on PC and popular on PC. Is Diablo Immortal popular? Yes, it is. Is it as popular as very simple mobile games like Candy Crush, or like Clash of Clans, or like Subway Surfers, or even like Call of Duty Mobile? And the answer is no, it doesn't have that popularity. I believe that action RPGs are a bit more of a niche space than some of those others. I mean, when you think about a Candy Crush or Subway Surfers, you have moms playing that, dads playing that, kids playing that, and it's just a very casual experience. You grab your phone, you start swiping through stuff. This is a much more in-depth game that you could entrench yourself inside of. It's not just your typical mobile game. And I think that that can, in some ways, hurt the game and hurt its popularity on the platform, being the mobile platform. But, and I keep circling around it here, how long will Diablo Immortal live? Obviously, I don't have a direct answer to that, but I could confidently say that I think this game is going to be out for another 3, 4, 5 years. There's nothing in the future that I'm seeing that's making me believe or get hinted at me that this game is not going to be here for a very, very long time. And the only competitor that I could see that could potentially come into space and disrupt it would be Path of Exile Mobile. And if Path of Exile Mobile was cross-platform between PC and mobile. Will Path of Exile Mobile, if the game ever drops, will it be a competitor of Diablo Immortal and hurt the player base? Or will it actually make Diablo Immortal more popular? Because Path of Exile players would say, oh, there's a Diablo Immortal game on mobile too? I'm going to try that. When you think about when Diablo 4 released, lots of players said, it's going to kill Diablo Immortal. Everyone's going to leave Diablo Immortal and play Diablo 4. And many content creators, most of them I'll say, switched from Diablo Immortal to Diablo 4. We saw this happen. Our good friend Darth Microtransaction did just that. For him, great play. It worked out very well for him, his channels, and his life. But for me, I chose to stay here. And I think it was a good play. For me, one, I love the mobile experience and it fits my lifestyle. We've discussed this on the channel many times. But two, Diablo 4 came out. A lot of players jumped in and played it in the start. And some of those players were new to the Diablo franchise and said, oh, there's a mobile game here too? There's a mobile rendition of this game I could play? Let me check that out. There were a lot of players who played Diablo 3 and then 10 years later grew up and aren't young anymore. And now they're dads or now they're moms. And they don't have the time to invest in something like Diablo 4, a big PC experience. So what do? They come on over and they start to play Diablo Immortal because it's something that fits their lifestyle better, having a more filled life, busy life, less time than they had 10 years ago when they fell in love with the Diablo franchise, or 20 years ago when they fell in love with it. So I think here that we do have a title that's going to be around and could be around for a very long time. I would not be surprised if we had Diablo Immortal around for a decade. And when you think about it, Blizzard is not a company that will typically just go out and kill games. It's not a company where you see that they stop investing in their games over a certain period of time. For the most part, when they put out a game, they invest in that title and it continues to grow and get better and better over time. Look at World of Warcraft. Look at Hearthstone. Look at all these titles that are just continuously growing and that haven't been forgotten. I think that Diablo Immortal is a safe bet for any person that wants to play an action RPG as a mobile experience. I don't think there's any worry that the game is going anywhere anytime soon. So for me, I'm feeling confident playing this title. And the only time that I did have concern was when Undecember came out and Torchlight Infinite came out. Two great action RPGs on mobile. And if you do a little research and check them out, you'll realize that those two titles, as good as they are not even putting a dent in what's going on as far as playership here for Diablo Immortal. They are not taking players away in any capacity. And players are most likely playing those experiences, finding them, and then realizing that there's another experience that they can join here in Diablo Immortal as well. Not to put anything bad on those games. I actually think both of them are great. But for me, I can only play one action RPG at a time. And my choice is Diablo Immortal. And yes, I do believe that we're going to have this game for a very, very long time.